Hello, and welcome to the Pixel Perspective podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adrian.
And I'm your other host, JJ.
How's it going, JJ?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Man,
How are you, sir?
Dude, I'm good. I said this to you earlier, but I feel like I slur your name every time I say it. JJ. Hey, JJ.
It's
JJ.
French, apparently, I guess.
I don't know, man. It's one of those, like, I have a tendency to slur my words anyway. So if I don't, like, focus on not doing that, then it just...
I mean, there's no vowels. It's two letters. So at least you're not saying, like, zhuzh or something. So
JJ. Hey, JJ. Anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
How you been, man?
Been good. Been playing through Xenogears, getting ready for next month. Finished it last week.
Oh, and you started after me, too.
I did.
Yeah, I wanted to. I mean, we usually start with what we've been playing. I've been playing exclusively Xenogears. Like, That's all I've been playing.
Okay.
Which is unusual for me, as you well know by now. Yeah, it's. I'm trying to get through it, man. We got to get through it for that December show because.
We don't have to. I already did, so my part's done. So
rub it in,
you got we'll record it like the week before Thanksgiving, I would assume. So you ready?
No pressure. No pressure. Well, I'm about 20 hours in. You said you beat it in 50?
50.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
I was at like 52.
I'm nearing the halfway point then. So I can do it. I can do it. I just need to just play more, I guess. But I mean, like I was telling you before, I'm not bored with the game. I mean, if that speaks anything to the game at all.
Like I said, it's heavy. There's a lot to take in, and so you feel, if you play for an hour, you feel like you just, played for 4. It's just information overload.
Well, and it's also a game that I can't play passively, because there's so much dialogue in that game, and there's like I'm really intrigued by all of it, and I want to take it all in. I can't just sit there and watch a TV show or a movie or something while I'm playing it. As is the case with other RPGs, you can just sit there and grind away, or the story's not hugely complex or anything, and you can casually follow it.
Right.
The game is, I obviously I don't want to get into it before we talk about it in the show, but this game definitely is ahead of its time in terms of storytelling. I think it's a good story. And I can't wait to finish it, honestly.
Like I said, as soon as you finish it, I'm going to have you watch that video by Resonant Arc as well, explaining like how the whole series was originally going to be, because this is, part 6, and that's the only one that came out. When it talks about the perfect works and how everything was supposed to go from beginning to end, and it's going to blow your mind, man. It's just like that would have been so cool, but unfortunately, it's just way too much.
I'm really looking forward to that. Honestly, it's a great story.
It's cool. I've been playing that, obviously. And I just, like I said, I finished it last week. I hadn't played it since the only time that I've beaten it, which was a decade ago. But I still always considered it my second favorite game of all time because I played it many times when I was younger. And I would just get like really far, and then I would be like, oh my God, it's so heavy. And then I would just quit. And so one year I just decided I'm going to force myself. I'm going to get through it. And I did it. And I loved it. I remember loving it. And I hadn't played it since because I was so worried that I was going to have how like your perception of things can change over time. And Final Fantasy 10 and 12, perfect example. I made a video on this a while ago where my perception of both of those switched. I was not a fan of it when I was young. Of 10 when I was younger, I was kind of like, it's okay, it's fine. I played through it, did it, whatever. And 12, I remember loving when I first played it. I had a blast with it. I remember the characters were so great. I love the story, I love the world, the gameplay, all that stuff. Well, I played both of them recently, like within the last 2 years, and I loved 10 so much. I platinumed it, and I wanted to keep going because I was so into it. I just absolutely adored it. And then I played 12 again, and I was like, oh, this isn't as great as I remember. Like, it's still a good game, but I'm not really as into it as I remember used to be. And so I was really worried that, like, you know, Xenogears is my second favorite game of all time. I'm worried if I play it now after all this time, I'm going to hate it, or I'm going to, like, you know, notice a lot more of the flaws, which I definitely have. But I don't know if it was just the nostalgia or just that I genuinely just love it or anything like that, but it did not change one bit. I absolutely freaking adored the whole ride. When I got to disc 2 and, you know, most of it was text-based, it was a little tougher to stay awake because there's just so much to read. And it moves so quickly. But I was very pleasantly surprised at how much I still loved it. So, and I'm so happy that I did, because I really was worried that I was going to be like, that's not my second favorite game of all time. Now I'm going to move it off the list. Crap. You know, so I'm really, really happy with that. But once I finished that, I started on, because I really want to get to Dragon Quest 11. I started Dragon Quest 8. And I'm hoping to have that done before, hoping to have that done in the next, like, 2 weeks. And then I want to try and finish the next Assassin's Creed game on my list, which I think is it Unity, maybe? Whichever one comes after 4. I'm not sure. I think it's Rogue.
I think it is Unity.
I think it's Rogue. I think it goes Rogue, then Unity, then Syndicate. And so whichever one's next, either way.
Are you going to skip the Vita one?
Which one is that?
There's Liberations?
Liberation? I played that. That was after 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I played and beat that. So I'm going to hopefully try and get that done, because once those 2 games are done, then that's when I'm going into Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk's going to take up all my time.
Liberation, is it a woman protagonist? Like, you play as a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's the same one.
Yeah. It was actually pretty good for a short little one-off. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. It came with my Vita when I got it, so it was like the first game I played, and I
played it on PS4 with the collection.
I didn't even know it came out on PS4. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, pretty much those 2. And then I dove a little bit back into Mario Maker 2, which I've been having some fun with.
Oh, really?
Just, you know, playing people's levels online and stuff, and I get a kick out of it. Because they implemented the world system where you can create worlds, and I love Super Mario World for Super Nintendo, and that's kind of the design that they went for with these. And so it's really, really neat. So I'm enjoying that as well. And I'm not really playing anything else. Oh, and a little tiny bit of Genshin Impact, which is a really cool game, but there's no way I can devote that much time to it, no matter how awesome it is. Yeah. I just don't have the time for it. So,
what version are you playing?
PS4. Okay. It's the only one that's out, I think, unless PC is out too.
Yeah, it's on PC. It's also on phone, iOS.
Oh, that's right.
I downloaded Switch. It on. Yeah, I'm waiting for the Switch version. I downloaded it on the iOS and started playing it. It's pretty blown away by the graphics on a phone game, and it was actually not too terribly difficult to play with touch screen controls. No. But ideally, I really wanted to play it, you know, with a controller. So I downloaded it on PC, and the game save transfers over, and so I was able to pick up my same character. I haven't been able to play much of it, like literally just enough to test it out and see, yep, this is Breath of the Wild, and moved on.
That's exactly what I did with Breath of the Wild when I originally played it. First time I popped it into my Switch, I turned it on, and I was like, oh, this is a big game, and then I turned it off, and I didn't play it for a few months.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was. It's like
psych myself up for it.
I'm already psyched up. Like, I would love to dive into it, but I really need to focus on Xenogears, so I just like noped out of it. As long as I have a goal in mind, I can keep my video game ADD at bay. But I guess the only other thing I've been playing recently is the Super Mario Super Kart Circuit thing. Dude, I don't know what it's called. It's a little remote control toys.
Yeah.
Home, yeah. So I picked that up the day it came out. I picked up the Mario Kart one and brought it home, played with my kids, and we just raced around the house. So I've got plenty of hardwood floors in our house. So it's not I mean, our house seems to be made for this game. So we were just taking it all over through the different rooms and, you know, having a blast with it. And you set up your cardboard gates. And when you're looking at it through the Switch, like, it really does feel like you're playing a Mario Kart game and the environment is your home. It's so cool how they were able to pull that off. I don't really experience any lag. There are some times if it gets a little bit too far away from you, it'll start to lag out a little bit. But otherwise, I mean, if you keep it within the same room, there's no issues. And it's funny because when you're playing it on the little Switch screen, it feels fast. Like, I feel like I'm going fast, but then you look up at the cart and it's just slowly petering around the room. It's just crazy. I'm like, man. Somebody posted on Twitter that it's like the Ant-Man scene whenever they're fighting, and then they pull out and it's just them moving slowly. And, you know, it's just like that. It's just like that. And it's so cool, though. And we haven't unlocked 150 cc yet. We've only unlocked 100 cc. And that is already pretty quick. So I can only imagine how fast 150 is going to be. But, I mean, we'll do the races. We'll set up the track. And it'll display on your screen, like it'll recognize the cardboard picture that's printed on it, and then turn it into a digital thing on your screen, like arrows telling you where to go and stuff.
Yeah.
And it'll also pull up little item blocks that you can pick up and shoot at your opponents. And, you know, we were just having so much fun with that. I had to go get Luigi, so I went to the store and picked up Luigi, and my kids have been playing it basically every single day since we got it. And so it's been a really cool tool.
Awesome.
I'd say if you have the space for it and you're even remotely interested, just do it. I mean, it's so cool. But other than that,
I have my kitchen that has hardwood floors. That's it. It's the only place I'd be able to play it, and it's really small, so wouldn't work.
It drives on carpet too, surprisingly well, but you really need hardwood floors to get the full experience out of it. So it's kind of fun. My kids they'll follow me around the house or something, spying on me. There was one time I was in the toilet, and they just drove the little cart into the bathroom. It was like knocking on my bathroom door. They thought it was hilarious. But
that's fun for the family. Yay.
Well, I mean, what else? You've been playing anything else you want to talk about?
That's it. That's it. Dragon Quest, and yeah, I've had a lot going on outside, like, real life stuff that's just been crazy. So I really haven't had as much time to devote to gaming as I would like.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that is my life story, man. Well, then let's get into our topic. Our topic for today is video game music. Video game music, man, is something that honestly I wouldn't have considered it a very important thing in my youth. But today, as I got older, it became something that is really important. I'd say it actually started becoming really important to me in like high school. But I mean, but then when you think about it, at all the older games, you know, the NES games and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis games that I used to play, and then I start thinking about, I mean, I kind of took the music for granted and how much of it is an integral part of the experience.
Right.
You can't really have a good game without good music. If you have a good game and it doesn't have really good music, I don't think it's going to have the same impact as a game that has really good music, you know? And vice versa. Like, you can have a crappy game, and I've got some examples of this too. You can have a crappy game, but it could be made better with good music. You know what I mean? Actually, I'll give you an example right now. There is let me see, I got it written down. Incredible Crash Dummies. My brother got that on the NES. My brother got that for his birthday one year, and that was one of those games where it was just it's an LJN game, first of all, so it's already got the stamp of
strike one.
Yeah, strike one. And I just remember the music like really was unique to me at that time, and I really enjoyed what I was listening to. So that and the fact that it was kind of like it was a new game, so it was something for us to play. We didn't get new games all the time. Sure. And that paired with the music, just it kept me going, and I grew to actually love the game. And it's got incredibly frustrating controls, you know. It's got slippery controls, and it likes to take control away from you sometimes. And it's got this. Have you played that game before?
I have not.
Well, there's a part. There's this item that you get. It's like a rocket, and you one of the crash dummies that you take control of is basically like a unicycle. And when you get that rocket, it propels you, and if you hit a wall, your head will fall off. And when your head falls off, your controls are reversed. So to go forward, you have to press back, and to go backward, you have to press forward.
Okay.
And so that paired with already floaty, crappy controls, yeah, it was horrendous. But
that sounds like a blast. Yeah.
The music though kept me going. It really did. Yeah, it was one of those things. That's like, I love the music. I'm gonna just keep playing because I love listening to this theme through this level. What about you? You have anything like that kind of changes the experience for you?
I mean, so typically, like I really like to go for. There's very few games that I can think back and listen to where it's like the soundtrack was really, really good and added to the game in a way that wasn't emotional, if that makes sense. Two that come off head is like Contra for NES. I played that game so many times that I have, not because the music is like spectacular, but I have it memorized and I know that soundtrack like the back of my hand. Like, yeah, like just a, you know, like I can still hear it in my head. And you know, my cousin and I would play it, and we would just and you know, just like while it was going on. And the other is Streets of Rage 2. Has phenomenal music, and it's like synth, like heavy beats, like just perfect for a beat 'em up. And I just adore the soundtrack to that game as well. I use the music from that in quite a few of my videos actually, because I still like it so much to this day. Most of the stuff that I listen to though is tied to emotion, and carries emotional weight. I really didn't start paying attention to music closely and have it really impact that much unless it was catchy, like something like Tetris or Dr. Mario, where like you could choose what song you wanted to hear and you just pick the catchiest one that had the and you just like, you know, go over and over again. Or Adventures of Lolo, if any of you have played that or watched my review on it for the NES, that game loops the same song over and over again, and it's catchy. You're going to want to like rip your ears off by like, you know, the 4th or 5th level though, because it just loops the damn thing over and over again. Fantastic game, by the way. But it wasn't until I played Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 4, when I heard that opening, the main theme from Final Fantasy with the scale and then the music kicks in and everything. And it was like, I mean, I'm going to sound cheesy, but it was like an awakening for me. Like just listening, I literally just sat there on the title screen, just going like, wow, like I felt it, you know, I got goosebumps just hearing this music from this game that I was just like, you see the sword on the screen and you knew you were in for an adventure that was just going to hit you in the feels. And I had never seen anything like that before. And from then on, fun fact, for a really long time, I wanted to be a composer for video game music. I had Fruity Loops on my computer for years, and I would just mess around and I would make songs and stuff. And I never really showed anybody what I made, but to me, it sounded cool, and I would just listen to it. I take that back. I did show my old roommate John.
Hold on. He actually. What is Fruity Loops?
FL Studio. It's a music editing software where you can make your own music.
Okay. When was that around? I've never heard of it.
I don't know if it's still around. I imagine it is. It was huge back then. I don't know. I used it in my like mid 20s. No, God, no. I was
okay.
Probably like the mid 2000s. So
that is an interesting fun fact, though. I didn't know you were into music.
Music means the absolute world to me when it comes to video games, and quite frankly now anime as well. My Hero Academia has some of the best music that I have heard, and that just punches the story and the high action moments and emotional parts. Just makes it that much better. Same with Attack on Titan. Really, really great opening sequence. If you haven't seen that, go check it out on YouTube. Fairy Tail has some of the best music I've heard. Oh my god, I love it. Naruto, same thing. I mean, I could go on and on. Like I really like just music that carries emotional weight. And when you can throw it into a video game, especially like back in the day, like with Super Nintendo and that kind of thing, where you're just reading text and you can enhance it that much to where you're making somebody feel stuff with just text on the screen. And that'll go into like what I have is I wrote down 4 composers that I that mean the world to me, that absolutely have blown me away throughout the years. It just is incredible that they can do that and carry that much weight when you're just reading something on screen. Like you can still get those kind of emotions, and people like, have emotions when they read books and that kind of thing. But just the fact that I'd never seen that in a video game before. And then, I was a Final Fantasy fan and a music fan from then on, video game music fan from then on. That became one of the top tier things that I looked for in games that I loved. And it's a big reason I love RPGs, because those tend to, JRPGs I should say, because those tend to carry the emotional weight with the music that they bring.
You're absolutely right. And I think the first time that I really, the same type of experience that you had with Final Fantasy II was the same experience I had with Wild Arms. I'd never experienced music that I thought really amplified the story as much as that game did. And that goes along with what you were saying with RPGs. RPGs just tend to nail the feels with music generally, if it's a good RPG. And but I mean, like with Wild Arms, it starts off with that opening anime that I know I've talked about before, with that song that plays in the background, that Western style song. And it was just, man, it started with that, and then it only got better from there. Like all of the songs in that soundtrack are great. I noticed that you played a few from your last video from Wild Arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use music from there too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those games that you name or anything like that, but or what they've done since Wild Arms. But man, that soundtrack has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of feels, I would say the first game that really helped amplify that would be Final Fantasy VII. The way that they play the music when spoiler alert, Aeris dies, and whenever the materia falls, and it's like the dun 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 dun, dun, like it just it fits.
Yeah, it goes with the animation on the screen. Yep.
Yeah, like it was so well thought out, so well planned, plotted. Like they wanted you to feel the full emotional impact of that scene, and damn it if it didn't work well. It was just perfect. And I think, after those 2 experiences, it's like that's when I really started to notice how much music is integral to the experience for me. And how
even
much
the opening sequence of that game, where with Aerith walking walking down the alley, and then the music, like it zooms out, and then you get the and it has the title screen come on, and then it starts flashing towards the train, and the music just goes right into the next part with the the combat and everything. That's masterfully done.
It's brilliant. It really is. I mean up until that point, like those old school games, we like you said, the Tetris, the Mario games, some of my favorite, Mega Man, Castlevania, Sonic, all of those, they all have wonderful, great music, but they're just nice, hummable tunes that
they're catchy.
Catchy. Yeah. And
Mega
those
Man 2 has a pretty sweet opening though. Like, and that's actually, some could probably argue that that's pretty emotional, that the opening to Mega Man 2. If you've ever, I don't know if you can picture it in
when
your
he's
head,
going up the camera's going up the building. And, Yeah, that game definitely. Now, I didn't play that game when I was younger, but I did get to experience it later. And yeah, that's incredible. I mean, you're basically telling a story before you even start the game. Yeah, it's just it's a Mega Man game. I mean, but other than that, I mean, like some other games that had wonderful openings on the NES is like, I don't know if you've ever played Black Bass. Black Bass is, oh man, my buddy and I used to play that game so much. It's just a fishing game. It's just a silly little basic fishing game, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and the music in that game was so good. You know, I don't know if you've ever played Time Lord. Time Lord is
I haven't played another one of those.
It's another one of those crappy games. It's not great, and it's really hard. But the music is just amazing in that game. Super catchy. But
okay.
But I mean, like, in terms of RPGs and things like that, I think the ones that really stick with me the most, the ones that I come back to time and time again and listen to over and over again, like even today, usually those come from RPGs. And mainly that's because of the feelings they help to them. You know, I can immediately put myself back into that experience, you know, that story that those characters, you know, anything associated with it, and it just immediately takes me back there.
Right.
Like Chrono Cross, I brought up Chrono Cross in the past, but every time I listen to that music, man, I just picture the bright blue colors and the greens, and you know, the saturation and the ocean and the islands and just that world in general. It just transports me back to that world, and it's just a great, catchy soundtrack overall, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with Trigger. Trigger goes into the same boat as that, I would say. Legend of Mana. Even newer games that aren't RPGs, Halo. The music plays pretty important role in those games, you know. Those it helps to show you the importance of what it is that you're doing, you know what I mean?
It carries the weight of Halo's story. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I'm not crazy about Halo's music, but I definitely like it's recognizable. And for me, I think that's because I don't have like the crazy nostalgia for it that a lot of people do, because I didn't have a lot of time with the Xbox, the original one. And I didn't play much Halo until Halo 2 came out. But it's like, I know that when that song starts playing, people who are big Halo fans are like, you know, they flip out because it's so, you know, hits them right in the gut. Which is cool to see, and you know, in especially in Western games, because it's in my opinion, it's not that often that you see that on this side of the water. So, I will say, like, as far as composers go, like I said, I've got 4 that have like just right there. And the first one is a recent one, and that is Yasunori Nishiki. I had never heard of this guy like ever prior to Octopath Traveler.
Oh, okay.
That game, though, I have had the soundtrack in my car on repeat for the past year, and it has not moved. That is all I've listened to in my car, unless I have like the radio and I'm listening to like talk radio or something like that. That is like what I have just had on repeat because it's that good. That soundtrack is easily one of my favorite of all time, and it is just stellar, and I cannot wait to see what they do in future installments of the game or of the series, and to look at what else he puts out, because I was pretty blown away, not even necessarily like because there are a lot of songs in it, but how many there are and how good all of them are. It really blew me away. So that's,
has he done anything in the past?
I haven't really dug too deep into it. I should. But I haven't really looked as much as I probably need to, just because I've been so obsessed with this one soundtrack for now. And he's a younger guy from what I remember too, so he may not have done too much, but there's probably somebody else out there who's listening right now screaming, going like, I can't believe you didn't even listen to blah, 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 and like, you know, whatever. But I haven't heard it. Recommend it to me. Tell me in the comments down below on the YouTube channel. Right. Tell me what you listen to. I'll do it in there. Next one up is Nobuo Uematsu obviously is the, you know, father of music for Final Fantasy. Huge, super well known. They have like music courses in Japan devoted to his music, where they teach, based on exercises and melodies that he's composed for video games. Like the theme of love from Final Fantasy IV is really, really big. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. When they announced Final Fantasy 15 and they said somebody else was going to be doing the soundtrack for it, I was not thrilled. I was really, really apprehensive at first. I was like, it's not going to be the same. I can't believe you could do that. It's just unreal to me. I was terrified, and I wasn't sure. I had never heard of Yoko Shimomura prior to this. I should have, because I've heard plenty of her music, like Parasite Eve and the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yeah.
But I didn't make the connection because I had heard that music before and I liked it, but never enough to be like, I have to go and listen to more of what this person's putting out. So that was until I heard the song Apocalyptus Noctis from Final Fantasy 15. And it's a song that plays, like, it's the really heavy, like with the chanting and like when you're fighting the like Titan and Leviathan that's playing in the background while these epic moments are happening. And it just blew my socks off. I mean, as soon as I heard that, and it was at E3 2016 when I played the demo where you fight Titan and that music was playing in the background. And I was screwing up on the fight because I was listening to how great the music was. It was so unbelievable. And I was like, I'm sold. Like she's got me. I have no more worries at all about the music in this game. And the music in 15 is great. It's fantastic. So there was no more worries about that. And I get super excited anytime I see her name now on anything. So yeah, Parasite Eve she did, and like I said, Kingdom Hearts series too.
Well, I mean, that song specifically, like, I wish I could have a frame of reference. And actually what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and put in a sample of that song you just described.
Sure.
Because I don't think it sounds good or familiar to me at all. But Parasite Eve, I mean, I don't think Parasite Eve was a great soundtrack. I think it served the purpose, I guess.
The whole game itself, the sound, I shouldn't say soundtrack, but some of the music, like the opening sequence, the like with the whole cutscene in the beginning, that song that's on, that song is really, really good. And just like super like sci-fi, just made me feel like it put me in that mood for Parasite Eve. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. But
one of my favorite songs is a Kingdom Hearts song. And I think it's the opening song for 1 or 2. I don't remember which one. But yeah, I don't remember the name of the song, but I know it when I hear it. It's a great song. I'm not super fond of the games. I mean, they're fine, but that song is definitely up there as one of my favorites.
Yeah, she is fantastic. The next one I have is the most consistently good composer on my list, Nobuo Uematsu, who I just mentioned his name a second ago. He's going to be the 4th name. Spoiler alert. But his music means the most to me. But there's some music of his that I'm just kind of like, like I'm not super crazy about a lot of his newer stuff or like his older stuff. But Yasunori Mitsuda,
yes, I knew you were going there.
Consistently blows my mind with how well his music is. I can pick his music, like just blindfolded, not knowing what's on the screen or anything like that, with nobody telling me. You play something, I can tell you if it sounds like him, if it's him. Because he just has a sound. Yes.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Xenogears. My God. How have you liked the music in that game, by the way?
So, okay.
Oh, you're playing with the sound off, aren't you?
No, I've got the sound on because I know he composed the music for it. I didn't know that prior to you telling me, though. So, yes, I am listening to the music, but all I hear is the same damn song constantly, and at this point, I'm kind of sick of it.
No, that's a big issue that a lot of people have in their reviews of that game, is that they reuse the same several songs over and over again.
Well, it's the one that's got like some weird, like it sounds like somebody's talking, but I can't understand what the hell they're saying for the life of me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like you're in a warehouse or something and somebody's coming in over the loudspeaker and announcing the flight's about to take off or something. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. that song, I mean, that song plays so often. I liked it at first, but it's really like it's getting old at this point, and I kind of want to hear some new things. But I mean, honestly, it's a great soundtrack. I don't think it's nearly as good as Chrono Cross, but it's up there.
Chrono Cross is spectacular. It's top tier, definitely. I think Chrono Trigger is a better game than Chrono Cross, but I think Chrono Cross has a better soundtrack, personally.
That's fair. I mean, I think I would agree with you on that. I haven't finished Chrono Trigger, but in terms of like characters and things and storytelling, I think Trigger does it better. But I think world building, in terms of world building and music, Chrono Cross, I think, hits it for me.
I mean, it can do a lot more. It was on the PlayStation, so I think if you look at like time frame, Chrono Trigger is just, it's still, I think it's one of the greatest games ever made, still to this day. And it hasn't, like, I mean, it's aged obviously, but it's like I could still play it and have just as much fun, and not even consider that it looks bad or anything like that, because it doesn't. It still looks great, in my opinion.
Side note, real quick, about Chrono Trigger. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but NES Complex on YouTube put out a retrospective about Chrono Trigger, and he's so passionate about talking about that game that it's super, like, he gets you excited about it, even if you've never played the game before. It's really, really well done. I highly recommend you check that out.
He's good. Who is it?
NES Complex.
NES Complex. Okay. Curious.
Yeah, check him out. He does really good videos all the way around.
Yeah. Awesome. And then obviously, Nobuo Uematsu, my hero. I like, just blows me away time and time again. Final Fantasy series, like I said, I heard that interlude, that opening from Final Fantasy 2 on Super Nintendo, and it was the first time in a video game that I'd ever sat back and just listened to the opening. This was a Super Nintendo with, MIDI music like coming through, and then like it just blew me away. I absolutely adore the things he's written. The games that have come out, that's one of the biggest reasons I'm such a fan of that series, is because he composed the music for most of it. And he does such a great job. Like, you see him get interviewed and stuff, and what he does is he takes, like, he doesn't just write music and say, like, here, put this in the game and, find a place for it, that kind of thing. He will take characters and study up on them and, like, all right, tell me more about, the Shadow from Final Fantasy VI. Tell me what is he like? What does he do? He's mysterious. Okay. He has a past you don't know much about. But he's got like a soft side to him that you don't really see too often, and all this stuff. And all right. And he'll take all that and he'll put that into a song devoted to that character. He'll do the same thing for another character. He'll do the same thing for a town. He'll do the same thing for a cave. Do the same thing for the world. He'll do the same thing, at the very end of Final Fantasy VI. I bring that up because he said that was his favorite game that he composed for. The very end is like a smash, a mashup of all of the characters' musics together, and it's so amazing. It just absolutely blows me away how he can connect what he puts into your ears with what you're seeing with your eyes. It's just incredible. And I got to meet him one time, which was really, really cool.
I was hoping that was coming next. Yeah.
It's really like, it's not really bad or anything like that. They didn't do anything stupid or anything. I kick myself for how it went down. So we have an anime convention, like a Japanese convention out here in Kansas City called NakaCon that they do once a year. And he was there one year signing autographs. And typically, like at conventions and stuff, I don't really care about like going up and meeting celebrities or getting autographs, that kind of thing. I might go to a panel every now and then just to kind of hear somebody get interviewed or talk or something like that. But it's very rare, just because when I go to conventions, it's honestly mostly just to go to the vendor room, see what I can buy, and see about getting stuff. That's all I really care about. In this case, freaking Nobuo Uematsu, I was gonna go and I was gonna see if I can, get an autograph, which I did. I got his newest CD autographed. which was another thing I kicked myself about because I should have brought like an instruction booklet for, Final Fantasy 3 or something.
Yeah,
dude. Nintendo. And,
yeah.
Either way. So I get up. He's got a translator with him. So anybody that's saying stuff to him and like it wants to, give him a message or say something like that, they can just tell the translator. He tells it to him, and you're good to go. And so I'm in the zone, and I'm like, all right, I got to say this. I got to mention this. I got to tell him how much this means to me. I had this whole like speech in my head that I wanted to just tell my hero. I was so ready, and I was like, man, I'm going to just make this guy like fall in love with me because he's going to know how much I appreciate what he did. And oh man. And I get up and like, I was like, I'm going to thank him for this, and I'm going to thank him for this, and I'm going to thank him for this. Get up there, and he signs my book, and I shake his hand, and this is what I did. Thank you so much. And then I walked away. And that was it. And I walked away. And that was it. I was starstruck. Like I had no clue. And he kind of like chuckled. And I was so starstruck. I had like, I don't even know the sounds that came out of my mouth. Like I was like, did I just use words? Because it didn't sound like it to me. And like, damn it. Like, oh man, I was just, I got the autograph. I got to shake his hand and tell him thank you. Hopefully he saw it in my eyes. Like, it means so much to me, man.
I would assume he did, man. I mean, it's not very often that you kind of are speechless,
I was completely starstruck. And you know me, I'm a chatterbox. I talk like crazy. So it doesn't happen to me too often. And for him, it was just,
that is super cool that you got that opportunity though. I mean,
yeah.
I can't believe that convention was able to get him there. I mean, that's just incredible. That's really, really cool.
It was actually his second time there, I think.
Wow.
And the two concerts that I went to for Distant Worlds, he was there for both of those as well. One in Kansas City, one in Chicago. I guess he was like touring with them for a little bit for the 30th anniversary. So it was neat.
At least you got to meet somebody who you really respect and look up to. I mean, that's not many people get the opportunity to do that. So
absolutely.
That's cool, man. I do think though, I mean, like in terms of memorable music, like the pre Final Fantasy 12, all of the songs from Final Fantasy games really stick with you, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They all have wonderful music that just is integral to the Final Fantasy experience. And he's the reason why. It's his brilliance, his genius that makes that the case, And it blows me away that he can write so much different music and still continue to create something that's first of all unique. Like every song is unique. It's memorable. It pairs well with whatever character or scene is going on at the time. He's just a master at emotion through music, he's incredible. He absolutely is. I mean, and the more you talk about it, the more you realize how much of a genius he really is. So I'm a little jealous you got to meet him, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, like we hung out and had beers. It was me just music good and walking away awkwardly. Kick myself. Still. But hey, I got the autograph.
That's all that matters. And you got to meet him and shake his hand in person. You told him through your actions how much you respect his work.
Thank you for trying to make me feel better about my bumbling idiocy. It's fine.
Faux pas.
It's fine.
Well, I mean, so we talked about music for feels. We've talked about like old school catchy music. What about rhythm games? Rhythm games, I think, are kind of in a genre all their own, obviously, but they have they're catchy for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I think those songs are really well put together to be catchy. And they, some of my favorite soundtracks from back in the day were, Paul Rapper the Rapper, Bust a Groove. Have you played that before?
So I have never played a rhythm game that didn't have music from somewhere else, like a rock band or Final Fantasy Curtain Call. Those are the only kind of rhythm games that I've played. I've never played any other ones because they just never interested me. I never really as much as I love music, if it wasn't something I already recognized and I wasn't going to be able to connect it to something, I didn't want to just play along with something new that I hadn't heard before. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I can totally see that. I mean, I'm kind of the same way, but when I played PowerAppa the Rapper, you get to a point when you're playing it over and over again where you just memorize these songs and they stick with you, more so than anything else for me. And so I knew all the PowerAppa the Rapper songs by heart, and I loved it so much. And then even the very last song in the game when you're rapping in front of a huge audience, trying to impress the flower, I can't remember her name, Sunny Funny, and you're rapping with your idol basically. Is just this big rap master that PowerAppa looks up to, and he gets to rap alongside him on stage, and it was just so good. I loved it. And then ever since then, I always wanted the new rhythm game. So the next one that came out was a game called Bust a Groove, and it's a dancing game, but all you're doing is it's just like PowerAppa the Rapper. You're pressing buttons in time with the beat, but your character dances alongside your button presses. And man, the songs in that were so good. I all of those songs really stuck with me. And they even made a sequel, Bust a Groove 2. Same thing. I think the first game stuck with me a little bit more than the second game, and I love those games. Even into Dance Dance Revolution. Dance Dance Revolution didn't have any well-known songs, but I still I would play enough of it that I just loved it. But I mean, to go along with what you're saying, even the more modern ones, the Guitar Heroes, the Just Dance, games like that, songs especially with Just Dance, songs that I wouldn't really connect with otherwise, I connected with because of the game, because you have to dance with it, and you learn to respect the beat and the rhythm and everything because you're playing a game with it.
Sure.
Same thing with Beat Saber. Beat Saber is an amazing, fun rhythm game if you've never played it before. It makes you feel like a badass because you got these. It's a VR game, and you're using your controllers to slice.
I've seen people
blocks.
play it, and it looks tough.
It's not that hard. I mean, it's when you're in VR. I mean, you can see them coming at you, so you just swing your hand whichever direction you're supposed to do it. But when you got the music playing in your headphones while you're doing this, you are completely immersed into this world, and it's just incredible, man. I love it. Hands down, the best VR game ever made. It'd be hard to top that one. But I mean, I guess that's kind of it. I mean, I love rhythm games, or even the Persona rhythm game, the Dancing All Night. They have one for Persona 4, 5, or 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I have no interest, to be honest with
you. I love the music in Persona.
I wasn't crazy about it. I mean, it was not. It was fine and it worked, but it wasn't it was a little too. I don't know. It was a little too poppy, I think, for me.
Yeah.
I just I love the classical emotional weight, heavy, just make you feel hopeful, make you feel sad, that kind of thing.
So you're talking about the Persona dancing games or Persona music in general?
Persona music in general. I've never played any of the dancing games, but I assume it's the same music, just you're doing
They're remixed versions of those songs. Yeah. Man, I love the music in Persona. That is the main sticking point to me. And I mean, I guess that kind of goes into the next category I wanted to discuss, which is music that accompanies a style, a gameplay style, aesthetic, design, artistic style. It just fits well with that style. And Persona 3, 4, and 5, I think they don't have the emotional weight that Nobuo Uematsu is going to be able to convey through his games.
Yeah.
But the music, it doesn't have to be. It fits the world and the style of the game so well for me. And it's the songs are super catchy. All of them are. But I remember my first experience with Persona was Persona 3. And my biggest takeaway from that game was the music. and it just kept me going. And Persona 4 even more so. And those are soundtracks that I will always listen to. I mean, they just really stick with me.
Sure.
But also like Silent Hill, I would put into this category, because Silent Hill, it needs to convey a mood that is a creepy, atmospheric mood. And I don't know the composer. I wish I knew who the composer was for Silent Hill, but the way that music is done is it's subtle. It's not really music in a traditional sense. It's more like sounds and banging, and it's got some old school. I say that there are some songs in there as well that have the mood of like Twin Peaks. Have you ever seen Twin Peaks?
I have not. I have a lot of people telling me I need to check it out, though.
Yeah, you really should. It's a good show, just for the uncanniness of it. But I mean, that has a unique, really unique kind of sound to it. I can't even describe it. It's like boom, boom, like, man, I can't describe it. I'm gonna have to play some Silent Hill music to accompany this, but it's got these weird guitar sounds. They have different composers depending on when because they had remakes and stuff for it. It looks like Akira Yamaoka. Yeah, that sounds right.
Is the original one. He also did music for Snatcher. Fun fact.
Oh, interesting. Snatcher has a good soundtrack too, though. That's pretty cool. Well, that makes sense because
Gradius 3 and 4 looks like, which I really liked 3 a lot.
I might need to check those out. Silent Hill is honestly like Silent Hill 2 and 3 specifically. Those are soundtracks that I always listen to. If I need to have focus music, those are great focus songs or soundtracks.
I remember the game of Silent Hill 2. I do not remember the music at all. I don't remember any of it, even a little bit.
I think if you were to listen to the soundtrack now, it might come back to you, because it's really unique. I mean, it's one of those things like I don't think that I really noticed it while playing the game, but when I went back and listened to the OST at a different time, I immediately recognized it. Okay. But I do remember in the first Silent Hill, the opening track that plays it's like a mandolin or something. I don't know what instrument is being used. But that song there like stuck with me so much. And I think that's why I went back and tried to listen to all the other soundtracks again.
Yeah.
I don't think I remembered it when I played the game, but listening to it again, it's like I really respected how well done it is. Highly suggest, if you haven't gone back and listened to it in a while, go check out Silent Hill 2 specifically.
Okay. Silent Hill 2 is the only one I played, so.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if you remember any of it, So another game, like some of the more rock style music, like Twisted Metal had all those games had a really unique style to them with the soundtrack that fit so perfectly with the car combat action.
Definitely.
Also Katamari Damacy. That
I have not played that game, but I definitely have heard the music. No. I've definitely heard the music. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, put that on your list for 2020, please. I mean 2021.
I have made the list actually. I have 18 games on there right now.
I think you can fit it in. That is a short game. You can beat that in a day. It's not very long, but it's so fun, dude. But the music accompanies the style of that game so well, the weird quirkiness of it. Also, let's see, what do I have on here? Fallout 3 specifically. Fallout 3 soundtrack is amazing. Like I got to listen to all these old songs that I'd never heard before, and they fit the world so well. Like if you want to talk about immersion, I did not feel the level of immersion with the Elder Scrolls games that I did with the Fallout games, and the music is a big reason why. I just connected with that music more. You disagree?
I'm the complete opposite. Yeah, I did not feel anything. It's probably because I'm not crazy about the setting in Fallout in the Fallout series. I prefer like the fantasy, like, you know, wizards and knights and monsters and that kind of thing, as opposed to like guns that run out of ammo and trying to scrounge for every last bit of equipment and like dirty, musty, just disgusting looking people. And yeah, I'm not crazy about. I like post-apocalyptic stuff in like movies and that kind of thing, but as far as games go, it's never really been huge for me. So not that I don't enjoy the Fallout series. I think they're great games. Don't get me wrong. Fallout 3, I did almost everything in that game. I played so much. Fallout 4, I just did not get into as much. And it's probably because it was so similar to Fallout 3. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't get into any of the Fallout games after Fallout 3. I mean, I played them, but Fallout 3 stuck with me the most. And like I said, it's because the music had a huge part to do with that. Like, what I would do when I played that game is I would put on the headphones and I would literally transport my mind into that world. And I would just, like, I could imagine wearing the Pip-Boy and having my song or the radio stations play out of this thing while I'm gunning down mutants and stuff, you know, and I'm listening to these, like, all these old weird songs, like, they have such weird lyrics and everything, and just it stuck with me so well, man. It just helped the immersion to a point that like few other games have been able to accomplish. Cool. Also, I gotta plug Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls, with their huge like orchestrated, you know, boss battle music, you know, it fits so well for me. It helps with that weight, you know, that impact of what you're doing.
I couldn't hear the music over myself screaming at the TV. So
Yeah. No, I could get with you on that. Also,
we're doing Dark Souls 2 next year, right?
We are. Yes. I got it.
You're not gonna go Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on me, are you?
Man, I still need to play that, don't I?
I'm just saying. Saying.
Well, the difference is I like Dark Souls. I didn't like Crystal Chronicles.
I completely understand. I wasn't crazy about this remake either.
I do want to get back into it with you, but my limited time is being devoted to Xenogears.
It's not high on my priority list at all.
Okay. All right, good.
I do want to play Dark Souls 2, though. I do. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I kind of really want to give it a fair shake. So we'll see.
I'm excited. I'm curious to see your perspective on it, having already, now that you know like how those games work, like if it helps.
Is there a Drake sword in
it? I don't think so.
Okay,
no, I don't
thank
think
God,
so.
Because I don't want to have to hear about it for the first 12 hours or something.
You don't understand the importance of that sword. For me, anyway. For me, if you're a one-handed sword user,
I know
it's so good.
You finally get it, and you're like, "This thing sucks."
It's only good for a short period of time, but that short period of time is wonderful.
That was really funny.
Have you played Scott Pilgrim, the game?
I've not.
Oh my gosh, man. That's another one. The music to me carried that game more so than a lot of other games. Like it's not a bad game by any means, but it's repetitive. It's a beat 'em up, you know, Streets of Rage style.
Sure.
But it's the music is done by a band called Anamanaguchi, which you probably have heard of before. I don't know.
Actually, it does sound familiar. Yeah.
They do a lot of like chiptune pop style music.
Okay.
They did the complete soundtrack for that game. That was the first time I'd ever heard of them. And they did such a phenomenal job on that soundtrack. I highly recommend, if you haven't heard it before, go check it out. Even if you don't play the game, just check out the soundtrack. It's really good.
Sure.
Also, Death Stranding. Death Stranding soundtrack is one of my most recent favorite soundtracks that I've discovered.
See, I agree wholeheartedly. I absolutely agree. But I don't know that I would take that music and listen to it outside of the game, if that makes sense. What made it hit so hard for me was that it fits so well with the loneliness and the wandering in the environments that you were doing while you were playing the game. If I'm just in my car and that soundtrack came on, I'd be like, what am I listening to? No, I turn it off.
Yeah.
But you start firing that thing up as you're playing the game, and it's like, okay, all right, yeah, this fits amazingly well.
It's one of those things. Like, I think the music for me was a huge part of that experience. Like, talk about immersion again. Like I'm saying, like music that accompanies a style, like emotion.
Yes.
You can say what you will about Death Stranding, whether you loved it or not, but the music really captured the essence of the feeling that Kojima wanted you to experience playing that game. And it worked so well for me. It's one of the reasons why Death Stranding is one of my favorite games that I've played in recent times. You know, it didn't start off that way, but as I progressed through it, and then especially after I finished it stuck with me. The soundtrack, like, I really like the soundtrack, and you're right, it's not one that I would listen to in the car, but if I'm working and I need to focus on what I'm doing, it's excellent focus music. It's just at a slow kind of pace that resonates with me well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing special about it. You're not going to get any like cool drops or beats or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about
Did you finish all the roads?
I didn't finish all the roads, but
I did. I did them all.
Oh man,
it took a while.
That is
but I really, really liked it. Yeah, I don't know. It felt so satisfying to just see a big chunk of it just appear and know that you could drive along it now. I thought
it is. It is. It really is. I love that game, man. I would love to go back and play it again, honestly. It's a good game. I really enjoy it. Yeah. One more example I got here, and this is a newer one for me, is Earthbound. Earthbound encompasses the style of that game so well. Like, it fits. I try to think, like, if I'm playing that game without that, any of these games that I've mentioned, if I try to play them without that music, if it's silent or they just had somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, place some random music in there, it would not have the same impact on me. Like, these games are amplified by the music. But yeah, do you have any examples that you would want to add to that category?
I mean, to go along with the Fallout 3 thing, Skyrim, the music in Skyrim was really, really just absolutely hit home. I would say Final Fantasy 14 as well, which, has a bunch of composers, Nobuo Uematsu being a prominent one, but I can't even tell you how awesome it was to have some like upbeat, just adventurous music going on when you're in a group of 40 other people doing a like a random event that pops up, and like you're doing a fate that turns into another one that ends up with you fighting a giant dragon at the end. You just got all these people and this music in the background blaring, and you see spells and all this stuff flying around all over the place. You know that you're in this with all these other people, and the music just adds so much to it. I freaking love it. Other than the ones that I mentioned earlier, for me, it's more about the composers, because like I said, I tend to associate moments with music rather than just like thinking of the game as a whole. So like the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI, I think of that. I think of the first time Death Stranding, perfect example. I think of when I hear the music from that, I think of the first time I stepped into that first area and started walking up the first mountain. Like your first time you set out, that music kicks in, and I was like, wow, okay, this is eye-opening right off the bat. Like, it just blew me away. So it's more moment to moment for me, and that's why I tend to like, those are the kind of ones that I listen to outside of just in the game. With the exception of Octopath Traveler, because I think the whole soundtrack is just so spectacular that like I literally will think about every character and all the stories in that game while I'm listening to this whole thing. And it's still like I still get goosebumps when I listen to it, because I just adore that game so much. I think I liked it more than most people out there. It's just really, really good. It's something I would like to go back and revisit and actually like finish the end stuff. I finished all the 8 stories, but I never actually did the optional boss at the end and everything.
I still need to go back and play that. The music is a big takeaway for me too.
Xenogears has several moments in the game, and I don't want to like spoil anything in case you haven't gotten there yet, but like there's some music that kicks in with id. I assume you've seen him already at least once.
Is he one of the weird looking mask
Id is the dude with the red hair and the big gear who's like super powerful. I think he's shown up maybe once where you're at now.
Yeah, he doesn't ring a bell.
You'd know him if you saw him. He's got red hair and like a really pale face.
Okay.
He shows up a few times, but he's a big part of the story. There's some stuff that goes down with him that, like, when music comes on that reminds me of that game, I think of that, and I still, again, goosebumps like crazy. So it's more the moment to moment kind of thing for me, because I tie those emotions, and it's that aspect is so heavy on me. Whereas, like I said earlier, games like Contra, Tetris, that kind of thing, while I think the music is good and catchy and fine, it just isn't going to have the same weight that the others have with me. So,
yeah. Well, what about soundtracks that have like actual bands and stuff that are thrown into it? A category I like to put this into is like typically sports games, like extreme sports. So like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a good one. So for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, actually for me, those are all bands that I didn't listen to then, but they were bands that I think that the skateboarders featured in the game picked to be used, along with some other bands that they used. And that music really helped put me in the shoes of being a skateboarder. And I'm pulling off all these really crazy tricks and everything. And like the music was a very integral part of that game. Like it had a lot to do with the experience that I had. And even to the point where I went on Napster, if you remember Napster, and downloaded a lot of those songs that were featured in that game. And I would listen to them just constantly. I was totally into that soundtrack.
Yeah, I never got into like the Tony Hawk games so much, but I was into like Dave Mirra's BMX on Dave Mirra BMX 2 on PlayStation 2. Big red cover. I actually really did like the soundtrack to that game. And again, like you said, it was bands afterwards that I went and sought out and would listen to the music because I liked it so much while I was doing tricks on my bike and that kind of thing. That game is one for me that did it like that.
There was another one that I played, Amped 3. It's a snowboarding game on the 360. I played that, and one of the bands that they featured on that was Amberlin. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but I had never heard of them before I played that game, and one of their songs that they featured in there, I think it was Never Take Friendship Personal or something. I don't remember. Anyway, I heard that song, and it just immediately clicked with me, and I loved it. And I went and found their CD, picked it up, and they still to this day are one of my favorite bands. And they were introduced to me through a video game, and I think that's kind of cool. But also like Jet Grind Radio. Have you played that one?
I know it.
Oh man,
I haven't played it. No.
That's another one that's just got incredible music. Like I think that one probably fits into the I put it in the sports category for me, but actually I think it fits more with the style aesthetic. Jet Grind Radio, it's got the cel shaded graphics and it's very cartoonish, and you're on rollerblades and painting graffiti on walls and you're doing tricks and things like that. And the music that is put into that game, like it's so like fun and catchy and puts you into the mood, to play that game. And it's a great soundtrack. But
okay, cool.
That's all I got to say on that. I mean, to me, this is I kind of wanted to talk about how music conveys feelings and things like that, but I think I just kind of got off on a tangent of just talking about my favorites.
But I mean, that's the point. Like, music enhances games, and that's the kind of the whole, the whole reason for this whole episode is because it, like, without music in games, you may as well just read. Like, at least with games that I play, like, don't get me wrong, I like reading. I do. I genuinely do. But it's like, you may as well just read or watch movies because it's Well, movies have music too, obviously, but it's all about immersion, and music is just something that is a massive, massive part of immersion. You know, you can have the best freaking VR headset in the world, but if you don't have some kind of background noise, typically music, it's going to feel a lot emptier.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things that, like, I really seriously think that can be easily taken for granted. You know, it's not
Sure.
something that you really associate with an experience, and it's so integral to it. I mean, can you imagine playing any of the games that we mentioned without music or with different music? It would not have.
I can say definitively the Final Fantasy series would not mean as much to me if it didn't have the music that it does. Yeah, I know that for sure. Man.
Yeah, I think that's the case for me with all of the games that I've talked about today. And, like, you know, some of the ones I mentioned specifically, but I like Death Stranding. I don't think it would have stuck with me as well if it didn't have the good music. I mean, there's a lot of point in time where there's silence in the game, but when the music kicks on, it's that extra layer that you need to help push you into the experience more.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's something that I'm glad that we get to gush over in an episode. So
yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Well,
that's pretty much all I got, though.
Yeah, that's all I got as well. That was a fun topic, and I guess we've already talked about it a little bit, but next episode will be the Xenogears episode.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get on the ball, man. Really,
you do. You got a ways to go, but and just like I said, get ready for information overload, especially disc 2, man. It's shorter, but it is so text heavy, and it was very sad to play through because of how much they tell you rather than how much you get to play. It's really unfortunate, but you know, when you know the whole story behind the development and everything, it's sad, and it's understandable. So they really wanted to focus on Squaresoft. Basically, really just wanted to focus on other things, and so this studio kind of got pushed aside.
It's an overambitious game, I think. And then, like I said, like playing it today, it's surprising to me that this game came out when it did and how detailed it is with pretty much every aspect of it, you know. And it was
originally supposed to be Final Fantasy VII.
You told me that, which is crazy to think about.
Parasite
Eve. I don't think it was supposed to be Parasite Eve.
No, Parasite Eve was also supposed to be Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
They wanted to do a New York setting for Final Fantasy. Yeah, they ultimately decided against it. I mean, I'm glad it turned out the way it did. Don't get me wrong. The Final Fantasy VII that we have is perfect. But it's you'll definitely, the more you get into Xenogears 2, you'll see a lot of the same themes that were in Final Fantasy VII as well. So
that's interesting. Yeah,
I'm curious to hear.
Well, the biggest thing though is like your main character Faye. He's a very fleshed out character and talks a lot. That's not something that's really common in Final Fantasy, at least the old Final Fantasy games. I think like the one that I can think of where your character has a lot of dialogue or comparable to Xenogears would be Final Fantasy X. You know, prior to that, they had dialogue and stuff, but they were relatively pretty quiet characters. You're the main character.
9, I would disagree with that. Zidane is
I need to go back and
a
play
quiet
9.
character. He is a ladies' man who doesn't shut up and he always has something to say. Yeah, he's a complete different character from Squall and Cloud, because I know what you mean.
Well, maybe I need to go back and play 9. I honestly, nothing stuck with me about 9 at all.
9 is so amazing. It's Sakaguchi, the guy who made the series. That's his favorite one. He said this is in his opinion, it is the definitive Final Fantasy. That's what he had envisioned when he first made the series, was a game like that.
Huh. I know what it is, though. Like, my introduction to Final Fantasy was 7, and then I go to 9. And then you go to, not 9, 8. And then you go to 9, and 9 to me was like completely off the.
If you started with 7, it's a complete departure. But if you didn't start with 7, if you started with 1 through 6, somewhere in there, then you'd be like, oh shit, yeah, we're going back to how we started. Hell yeah, that's how we felt.
I think I would have had a different perspective on that game if the character designs were different, because I was already of the mindset of how the characters were portrayed in 7 and 8 especially, like more human characters, and then you go to 9 and they're all these super deformed. Like it was hard for me to connect with them, and so I never did. I really
look at it as kind of a fairy tale, and that's kind of how I've always taken it in.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I highly recommend that people play 9. I would never recommend it as a first Final Fantasy. I always try to say 10 because I think that's a really good introduction to the series.
I agree,
but 9 is my second favorite in the series behind 6. I adore that game so much. And it's just so good.
I downloaded it on the Switch, and I think I started to play it again, but I haven't given it much time. And actually, of all the Final Fantasy games back then, I think that's the only one I didn't finish.
It's the end boss is kind of like, even for a JRPG, you're kind of like, where did this guy come from? What the hell just happened? What? It's odd. But leading up to that, the game is great. It's top notch. So
cool.
In the ending will make
then
right in the feels.
That's what I like. I miss that stuff, man. You don't get that very often anymore. Well then, with that, man, where can people find you?
On my Twitter at JJ Santanello. That's at JJSANTANIELLO.
Can you repeat that, please?
No, I will not. I will repeat it in a few episodes again when my quota is back to 0.
Well, the biggest place would be for your audio listeners.
YouTube.
Check out his YouTube.
Game Room Revival. Check it out. Just got a handful of new subscribers recently. Pretty cool. So
yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to see you.
Something like that.
Honestly, the fact that you've been going on as long as you have been consistently is commendable. So
I haven't missed a week. And
kudos to you on that.
Almost 3 years. It's like 2.5 years.
Yeah. And have you ever missed a week?
Nope.
No. In almost 3 years. That's
because if I know that I'm going to be out of town or something, I will record and upload in advance. Yeah.
That's dedication, man. That's dedication far beyond what I can perform. So
it is definitely like, it helps calm me down, and because I like to talk about games and stuff, and so just being able to sit in front of the camera and just say what's on my mind, it's especially growing up and not having a lot of people to talk to that I knew that were close to me that I could give my thoughts and bounce back my opinions off of and everything. It's nice to have that now. Not that I don't have that now, because I definitely do. I've met a hell of a lot of people through doing this, which is, another big reason that I want to keep going, is because I don't want to risk losing touch with the people that I've met. So.
Yeah. And you're picking up pace too. So that's another reason. It's like your hard work is finally paying off, man. I like seeing that.
Where can they find you?
I am on Twitter at Birdazoid, BIRDAZOID. And I have a couple YouTube channels, but I don't upload anything frequently. So
you did say on a previous episode that you were going to start uploading more, sir.
I know.
You did say
so. Here's what happens with my life. Like
what had happened.
What had happened was, now it's, man, as you are well aware, I have 4 kids and an Amy. So my time is so stretched thin all the time. Like it's hard for me to get to do anything that I want to do. So, and it's just, one day I will get there. And actually, on that note, my son, he's 6, almost 7. He is really wanting to start a YouTube channel. So I think I'm going to help him with that.
Do it.
He's a character, man. He's a character, and I think he would be good at it. So I think I'm going to help him with that. But I don't know. We may be posting stuff on my channel as well. But yeah, I mean, the biggest devotion I've had to YouTube was with the Just a Bit Gaming podcast. we kept that going for 2.5 years. And I'm proud of the work I did there. So that's good for me to be able to stick it out for as long as we did. And that was a challenge too, to be able to get together, because Ryan also has a family, and it was almost.
And there was a time period you guys didn't live close to each other too, and you still made it work for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been like 45-minute drive apart.
Yeah,
so
it's
kind of a challenge.
That's tough.
Yeah, but anyway, when I honestly start getting back to it,
I miss, I think you told me that you thought the idea was dumb later on and you didn't want to do it anymore. But I honestly like your earlier episodes. You guys used to pair games with beer, and I always thought that was super, super neat, and I always liked it. So I don't know, for what that's worth, I enjoyed that aspect.
That was something that I had a hard time with. Ryan's good with that. He's already a beer connoisseur. I like beer, but I don't know. I don't have much to say on it. Like, yep, this one tastes good. I couldn't really go beyond that.
Fair enough.
So, it just didn't work. But yeah, it was a unique take, and I think I've heard other people do that now since then. So it's kind of cool.
Cool.
But yeah, one day, when my time comes back, I would love to get back on YouTube. It is a passion of mine, dude. I've got all kinds of camera gear and microphones and lights, and just I love
episodes with your wife.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
recorded already that you haven't done anything with.
Do you know? Okay. Do you know how much stuff I have that I've recorded and not put out there?
Don't say that. Because I want to hear it. I want to hear it, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot. That the podcast, yeah, what you're talking about, what I do with my wife. I have several other things that I've done with her. I've had things that I've done by myself. I've done YouTube videos, kind of your style, where I sit in front of a camera and talk about something, and I just, you know what it is? It's a confidence thing. I don't have the confidence enough in myself to go ahead and just release it, and that's a hurdle that's hard for me to overcome. And because I'm a perfectionist, and when you're looking back at a video that you've done and it's like it's not exactly how I want it, I just stop myself from pushing forward with it. You know what I mean?
You know what? I totally understand what you mean. It was especially hard since I started with audio. I didn't do any video when I first did the Frozen North, and one of the hardest things to get over in the beginning was how much I hated the sound of my own voice. Which is, a common thing, but man, I could not stand my voice. I was like, I would hear Mark and I would hear Brian. I'd be like, you guys sound great. And then I'd hear me and I'd be like, shut up, dude. God, let them talk. And like, I hated the way I sounded. It took me a few weeks to get used to that. So no, I totally get it. You just kind of have to just force it and
do it.
You just do it. And eventually you realize because the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it anyways. So the less you're always going to have things to critique. You're always going to edit your videos and be like, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done this better, or should have said this, or whatever. But you'll notice less and less that you are wanting to cut things out or change things as you do it more and more. And that's something I've really learned, throughout.
Well, and it's also people like to see you for who you are, and not necessarily the edited version of you. So right. I get that.
Which is why all my videos moving forward are going to be quick cuts. So no, I'm totally kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Dude, that is a style I do not miss. I do not miss that at all. That you remember back in 2010, that was everybody did that. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. There are a lot of people that still do.
Oh yeah. Well, I would love to get back onto it, and I think I will. I'm just trying to find now at this point. I'm trying to think what can I share? What is my niche at this point? And I don't know. I've thought about different things. One of my niches is we're going off on a way big tangent here, but
I think that's your problem though. Is you're overthinking it. You think way too much about I could do this.
Think so?
I could do this. I could do this. Yeah. I could do this. You're not gonna win a freaking Emmy, dude. It's not gonna matter what you put out. You just do so. You just start with something. That's it. You just start with one thing. And then you do that, and you're like, well, I could do something on this. And then you put that out.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess I could do something on this. And then you put that out. And you just keep going with your ideas one after the other. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. It doesn't matter, doesn't even matter how good they are. It just matters that you put yourself out there. That's the whole point. And I cannot express through words like how much it is meant to just talk to people that are like, hey, love your channel, man. What do you think about this game? Or, this is coming out. Are you getting this? And that kind of thing. And they just shoot you a message and you start talking to people. And like, dude, when you first reached out to me about your starting your podcast, like that was one of the coolest feelings in the world. Like I can't even put it into words. And it just starts with that first step of just an idea and putting it out there. That's it. Doesn't have to be something you take 20 years to decide on which one to do first. Because at that point, you're going to be like, well, it's been too much time now. It's not even relevant anymore. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's it. You just do it.
All right. Thanks, man. I need that pep talk. I really did. I mean, that's been my struggle. Like, I look at one of the things that I love to do, is collecting. And so like going out and finding these games, I'm game hunting constantly. That's a really big thing on YouTube now. It's like I wanted to do that years ago and I just didn't, like I wish I had done it then, and I still can. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from doing that.
Right.
And then I don't know. I just need to do it. You're right though. I do overthink it. Like I'm trying too hard to find what my niche would be if I were to start a YouTube.
It doesn't have to be something that is like going to define your channel from then on. One of the first, the thing that I did was I was like, what's going to be something that I can do that defines me and is going to give me just a good jumping off point? Oh, I know. I'll start or talk about my favorite game of all time. That was it. And I talked about Final Fantasy VI. Quite frankly, I look back at the video, I'm like, I didn't do it justice. I didn't even mention the music in that video. Not even once.
Really? Oh,
and I
man,
kick myself for it, man.
Wow.
So it's like, you're always going to find things to critique, but the fact that you got it out there, that was a jumping off point for me. I was like, all right, next video, I'm going to make sure I do this differently. I'm going to make sure I do this. And you just go from there.
Okay. Well then, be looking for content from me soon. I do want to do this. I've been thinking about it for pretty seriously for, at least a few months now. So
finish Xenogears first.
I'll finish Xenogears first. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us, guys. And as always,
like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know the drill. Boom.
Oh, damn it. I always forget. Okay. Now you should keep on gaming.
Absolutely. Keep on gaming.
You should always keep on gaming. All right.
I'm not doing this. No. Keep on gaming. Bye.
Bye.